Welcome back to another video from the Debate Room Podcast. This is episode 159, our Week 11 NFL recap. Was an exciting week with a lot of upsets, a whole bunch of controversy, a lot of headlines to talk about. It was a really pivotal week for the NFL playoff picture as well. So we're going to break down every single game. Well, not every single game, the biggest games from the week, talk about the biggest headlines, and then just also evaluate what happened in each set of game. Before we get into it, make sure you guys like the video, comment where you feel like your team's playoff chances are at this point in the season. Some of you guys may be fans of losing teams, so if anything, talk about the NFL draft, I guess, which we need to get to talking about. Actually, I keep saying that, but we haven't done it. The NFL draft is increasingly relevant as the season goes on, and so it's really time to start doing mock drafts for sure. But follow us on our social media platforms so you can stay informed on when we're posting content as well. We're going to start with the last game of the week. The Eagles beating the Lions. I'm sorry, that wasn't. It should have been. No, who cares about the Raiders and Cowboys? The last relevant game of the NFL week where the Eagles beat the Lions 16-6 to become the first seed in the NFC. Very sloppy game. Very much a defensive game. Not the most entertaining on the eyes, but it was a matchup between two of the best teams in the NFC. So obviously very important. Eagles offense continues to struggle a little bit, but their defense is probably the second best defense in the league when it's all said and done. Definitely top five. So they've been carrying them through games. They've been great with situational football, creating turnovers, all those type of things. So they were able to get the win. And then the Lions, the juggernaut offense, they were able to slow them down. They were able to get pressure on Jared Goff. We saw some drops as well. They just look really, really flustered in a game that I feel like they had circled on their calendar for the last calendar year for sure. So let's talk about what we saw in this game and what led to the Eagles being able to win 16-6 and take lead of the NFC. Q, how did they get it done?
It was really just a defensive game, really from both sides. Jalen Hurts didn't have like the greatest of game. They tried to get AJ involved, like targeting him about like 10 times, and still didn't really lead too much because not all targets are equal. Smitty literally was quiet. Not much from Saquon. Really just defensive game from the Eagles standpoint. No real offensive, real good offensive plays. From the Detroit side, it was just the O-line wasn't holding up, so it was against Jared Goff. It was in his lap pretty much all game. Tried his best, led to some turnovers, led to some misses, late throws and whatnot. So offense looked clunky. I'm not gonna say it's because of play calling. I just think they was able to fluster Jared Goff, and that's always been the story. You get pressure on him. I don't think it really had much to do with him being outside. I just think they just made it tough for him all game, and that's what led to what it led to. But the defenses on both sides did what they had to do. Shout out to the Eagles defense for shutting down the Lions offense, and shout out to the Lions. Like, I don't know how much credit we giving them for shutting down the Eagles because their offense is not good, but it's still AJ Brown, Smitty, and Saquon out there, and they did a good job as anybody. So yeah, pretty sloppy on both sides, but the Eagles, they had a pedigree and they got out a close win, and that's just what they've been doing for the past year and a half.
I think the Eagles pretty much dominated both lines of scrimmages, and they won in the trenches, which is the reason they won this game. Like you said, they were able to get pressure on Jared Goff and knock him out of his spot. And if you can do that, it's very hard for him to have success. He's been. I think he's grown in terms of his ability to beat pressure by mostly though throwing into it. Having those buttons where he can, having those hot routes where he can throw into pressure, and he's been really good at like actually reading the defenses and like knowing where the pressure is coming from, and that's how he got better when in terms of it like in terms of beating pressure. But you can knock Jared Goff off the spot, get him outside the pocket. He becomes a dramatically worse quarterback. And I think that's the reason why sometimes he struggles in the playoffs. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But again, I think they won the line of scrimmage, was the most important thing. The running game wasn't great. Saquon Barkley averaged like 3 yards a carry or whatever. Tank Bigsby actually was very efficient in his runs, 8.5 yards a carry. But when they need like a big conversion or need like a big play, I think that Saquon Barkley delivered. The offensive line delivered. Lane Johnson going down is going to be very, very big for their future, and that's going to definitely hurt them going forward. And he's going to be out for 4 to 6 weeks, probably the rest of the season until the playoffs come. And he's still not going to be healthy then. So that's definitely something we got to monitor going forward. But the passing offense continues to be underwhelming in terms of the play calling, in terms of the execution, in terms of Jalen Hurts' ability to accurately throw the ball. I mean, 14 for 28, 135 yards. But at this point, it just doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Well, I think it'll matter eventually, especially in the playoffs. But right now, they're winning games. I mean, we like process over results for sure. And I think when we get into them as a contender in the NFC, which they obviously are, we'll talk about how that process that they're going through right now may hurt them in the future. But this was a typical Eagles win this year. Keep it to opposing team from scoring a lot of points. Defense is creating turnovers. They're getting to the quarterback. They're wreaking havoc. Jalen Phillips has been amazing. What an amazing deadline move from Howie Roseman. We didn't talk about that too much. I feel like we should have spent more time on that. But Jalen Phillips has been amazing since he got to the Eagles, making game-defining plays week in and week out. It's been 2 weeks or so. But he was great in this game. Got pressure on him. And he was literally the last piece of what they need for their defense because they obviously needed another edge rusher. Pretty much they needed an edge rusher for the most part. We see Jair Alexander. He retired, I guess, or take a step away from football. But I think their CB2 situation was gonna inherently improve if they're getting more pressure. That obviously alleviates pressure from off CB2. Odori Jackson, I think, had a good game today. Quinyon Mitchell is 2 days ago. Quinyon Mitchell is one of the best cornerbacks in the entire NFL. He did a really, really good job on Amon-Ra St. Brown, blanketed him for most of the game and really held him down. Odori Jackson and his reps on him as well, I think, was really good as well. So I think a lot of it has to do with creating pressure on the quarterback. But Quinyon Mitchell is a top 5 corner in the league, I believe. Is going to be a candidate for first team All-Pro this year. And Jalen Phillips, the addition of him was really good. So that's what really my takeaways from the game and what happened in this game, pretty much. In terms of broad outlook, though, the Eagles continue to have these weeks where they cannot score. Their offense looks really clunky. Jalen Hurts struggles. AJ Brown is frustrated. Will the Eagles repeat and win a Super Bowl this season despite their offense struggles? Will they turn it on, or is defense just good enough to have them scrape by in games, even in the playoffs?
At this state right now, I'm not comfortable saying yes. The offense is the issue. The defense, like I said all year, I figured after about 8 weeks they'll get into form, and that's exactly what they did. So I always expected them to get back there because the new pieces that things have to get acclimated and whatnot. Like you said, Jalen Phillips a great addition. Paid a 3rd round pick for him. If they don't pay him and he leaves in the offseason, they get back a 3rd round pick for him. So it's nothing but value with him. I just think there may be better teams in the NFC. Like I think the Rams are a better team. I understand they didn't win, they didn't beat them, but the odds of them again getting 2 block kicks and returning one for a punt, like a touchdown, is just like very slim. Obviously, they have the horses to do it again, but again, the odds are just like they'll play that same type of game 10 times, and I don't think that happens more than the one time. And they utterly outclassed them pretty much all game, and just took those 2 great defensive plays for it to happen. So I think the Rams can beat them. Do I think they can end up in the NFC Championship game again? Yes. If I think they face the Rams, I think they lose. So no. And Lane Johnson, like you said, is going to be out for some time, so that might make them. They might lose 2 or 3 games and might not get the 1 seed, so they might lose out on that bye. And now you got to play 3 games instead of 2, and now you add more variance to you losing the game. So I just don't trust them right
now. I would agree. I mean, because of the other talent in NFC, I do think that they're still a contender for sure. The Eagles are a contender for sure. Their defense is amazing, and they have talent on this offense, and they just find a way to win games. But I do think the Rams are a better team than them. I think the Rams, their defense line is really, really good, and it allows them to create pressure. And their defense overall, I think, is good. And their offense is high powered. They have Matthew Stafford playing like an MVP caliber player right now. They have Devontae Adams. They have Puka. They have a really, really balanced, really good offense, and their defense is opportunistic, and it can create pressure and create havoc on the opposing offense. So the Eagles, for me, their process in winning games hasn't been good whatsoever. They've said it. AJ Brown has talked about how they can't keep having these weeks where their offense struggles, and they can then try to just turn it on in the playoffs. And it's kind of hard because that's kind of what they did last year. Like last year, the offense struggled not to this extent because obviously the running game was better, a lot better than what it was last year. The interior O line play was a lot better than it was last year. Saquon Barkley was having a offense player of the year MVP caliber season. If this year their offense is struggling, their passing offense is struggling like it did last year, but the running game isn't as dominant as it was last season. So do I think they're going to repeat? No, I think they're going to be right in the thick of it. I think they're going to be in the NFC Championship game probably, or the at least the divisional round for sure. But I don't think this team's going to repeat because their offensive struggles is worse than what it was last year. They had one of the worst drop back offenses last year, but they complemented that with the best running game in the entire NFL. They don't have that this year. Saquon Barkley is not performing like he was last season, so I don't feel confident saying his team is going to repeat. And they were my pick to make the Super Bowl preseason, but I think I will almost be more confident in the Rams. I think they can lose to the Seahawks in the playoffs. I really do. I mean, Sam Darnold definitely had a terrible week against the Rams, for sure. And he is liable, if under pressure, to turn the ball over 4 times or to have a bad playoff game. So you definitely don't trust Sam Darnold in the playoffs whatsoever, especially coming off what happened last year. But I do think the Seahawks have a good enough team to beat the Eagles. They have a really good defense. Their offense is electric. They just added Rashid Shaheed. They got JSN, who's performing like the best wide receiver in the NFL this season. They have a good running game as well. They're really well coached. They just barely lost to the Rams, so we think can win a Super Bowl, can get into the Super Bowl this year. So the Seahawks are right there. You just don't trust the quarterback, and I understand that. But do you really trust Jalen Hurts? Has earned he's earned some trust in the playoffs. I have to give him that. He's had big playoff games, namely in the Super Bowl. And for the most part, he won't lose you a game in the playoffs. So he definitely has a lot more trust. I'm not going to say that. He has a lot more trust and respect in the playoffs than Sam Darnold. But overall, though, I do think the teams are close in terms of the Eagles and the Seahawks and the Rams, too. Those 3 teams are the cream of the crop for me in the NFC. And I think on any given Sunday, any one of those teams can win a game. I'm most confident in the Rams, then the Eagles, and the Seahawks. The Bucks are still dangerous, even though they just got, their defense just got smacked by the Bills. The 49ers, dark horse threats. But I feel like that's a hierarchy of the NFC right now. And I will have the Eagles being, as far as me being the second most confident out of those 3. But I do think the Rams are a better team. I have them as the Rams are the best team in the NFL right now at this current juncture. So, yeah, that's just how I feel about it. Do I think they're going to repeat? No. Because last year it was okay for the offensive struggles, for their drop-back passing struggles, because you had a really, really good running game. You had a better offensive coordinator than you have right now in Kellen Moore. Patullo has good weeks. He has very bad weeks. And so the juju around this team in terms of their mindset in the locker room and all this conflict is in the locker room with AJ Brown and Jalen Hurts, compiled with them just not putting a good product on the field offensively week in and week out and it not mattering, is going to matter in the playoffs. And that's just how I feel. The flip side of this, Q, do you think the Lions can win a Super Bowl with Jared Goff at the helm?
I do, but it's like under very specific circumstances. Same way how I feel about like if Dak Prescott was to win the Super Bowl, Brock Purdy, like those quarterbacks in that tier of player, like things have to be perfect. So specifically for Jared Goff, since he's not like super mobile, O-line has to be great. No, like 1 through 5, they have to be very good. They have to be a great unit, top 5. Need a running game. You don't necessarily need a great defense. You need just opportunity defense, but you need all those things plus at least one very good receiver. He technically has all those things, except the O-line is not performing to the level that it was before due to like adding a rookie, losing 2 players, one in retirement, one in free agency. So obviously things that you got to get everybody up to speed. But when it has to be perfect like that for you to win, your odds of winning, drastically decrease because it's the NFL and nothing's ever perfect. You have to win under duress pretty much most of the time, getting to the peak of where you want to get to. offensively, like I said, they're not like they haven't been a bad offensive team. Like they're pretty much still a top 5 offense. Because they have the pieces. Jared Goff is a capable quarterback, and you don't need to do much in terms of play calling to get that to a top 5 offense because they already got the pieces. Obviously things are a little different. So Dan Campbell took over play calling. I don't think that was the issue in the Eagles game. It just the defense was just what it was. This year, are they making a Super Bowl? No. Will there be a year possibly in like the next 5? Because I think that's probably the window at best, the next 5 that they could possibly crack one if things just go right. Yes, but they need the 1 seed. You know, have to get a good matchup. Defense has to be playing well. No injuries. O-line holding up. But so it's like the odds are just very slim. But do I think it can happen? Yes. I just don't expect it to happen.
I really don't think you can win a Super Bowl with Jared Goff at the helm. I don't think so. This team, it has some issues, but it's very, very rare that you get a perfect roster around a quarterback. I mean, this is pretty much as good as it gets, though, honestly. Like, the Lions have one of the best rosters in the NFL. They have a good offensive line. They have one of the best weapon rooms in the entire NFL. Their defense has its warts, but it's opportunistic. For sure, that they can get to the passer. Amik Robinson has been really good this year, I think. Rocky Sen did a good job against the Eagles. This team has enough talent. They have the right coaching staff. They have a lot of things you need to win a Super Bowl. They honestly just don't have the quarterback. When things are not perfect, Jared Goff significantly when things are not perfect, Jared Goff, like, his play decreases a lot as a quarterback. He drops off significantly when things aren't perfect. If the blocking isn't perfect, if the receivers aren't perfect, his play is going to fall off, and that's always my gripe with him. When it comes to the playoff time, when it comes to the playoffs, you're going to need a quarterback to extend plays, to make a play when the play breaks down, to handle a little bit of pressure. And I don't think Jared Goff is good at those things at all. I really don't. And that's going to be the gripe every single playoff run. He's a really good quarterback, especially in the regular season. But when you knock him off his spot, his accuracy decreases by a significant margin. The Lions' success rate drops off by a significant margin. If this running game isn't going, his ability to command this offense drops off by a significant margin. Few teams can do it, but if you can stop Jahmyr Gibbs and if you can stop Dave Montgomery on the ground, you necessarily take away their ability to run play action, and that hurts Jared Goff a lot for sure. So I think, like, if everything was perfect, if they had the best roster in the NFL, like last year's Eagles roster, you could probably get it done. But maybe not, because they needed Jared Goff. They needed Jalen Hurts to really step up at times last year. I don't know. I think he is one of the best game managers in the NFL. He is a really good quarterback. He is not a Super Bowl winning quarterback.
The only reason why I slightly disagree is because, one, I've seen him make the Super Bowl before, and he didn't. That he was a lesser player, and he didn't have a great Super Bowl. But the odds of, like, he went up against the greatest defensive coordinator of all time, and he also, like, he stymied him and severely outcoached Sean McVay. The odds of that happening, like, at this time, is very slim because there isn't one of those type of defensive coordinators and one of those type of defensive teams out there right now, other than the Eagles. And, like, they'd have to just beat the Eagles on the way to get to the Super Bowl anyway. Also, there was another time, like recently, when they made it to the NFC Championship game, he wasn't the reason why they didn't make the Super Bowl. Like, that was just bad situational play calling from Dan Campbell. If they just kicked the field goals, they win the series. I mean, they win the game and go to the Super Bowl. I think, if you can make the Super Bowl, like, I think you have a high chance of winning. Like, that's why it's like I slightly disagree.
Yeah, I understand I understand that point. But that roster was really great.
It was basically perfect.
Yeah, it was basically perfect. I mean, I just think that's so weird to have, like, that team building aspect of where you're getting everything right, no holes on the offense. The Lions are, I think, pretty close to it though. I mean, obviously, have holes on the defense and stuff like that, but it's very, very hard for you to build a roster better than what they have. They have a top 5 roster. They have a top 5 roster in the NFL right now, and it's not good enough for Jared Goff to win your Super Bowl. If any of the top quarterbacks were in this position, they would be winning the Super Bowl. I think if Drake May was in this offense, they would be a Super Bowl contender. You would feel good about them winning the Super Bowl because they just have that extra added element of athleticism. If Joe Burrow had this roster, Super Bowl, Justin Herbert, Super Bowl. Come on, bro. Like he's not that level of quarterback to do it. He's one of those quarterbacks that needs everything perfect. And I think Jalen Hurts is one of those quarterbacks too, honestly. But like it's just that level of quarterback that needs everything perfect, and it's not realistic. So I'm gonna say is it possible? Yes. Slim chances. I also agree. That's yes, though. It's a slim chance of it happening. And he got to the Super Bowl. You talk about the defense he faced. He got to the Super Bowl with one of the greatest offensive minds of the generation. That is not in Detroit. Ben Johnson is an offensive mastermind. He's not Sean McVay. And Dan Campbell is not the level of coach that Sean McVay is. And we didn't even talk about this, but he went for on 4th down 5 times and did not get it once. His stubbornness to continue to do that, it really hampered them in this game.
The only it's not really pushback, but especially when he was doing it before, their defense stinked. So him going, I had no problem with him going for it on the 4th downs because he knows the only way to win these games is to score the ball, and it's best to keep the defense off the field. But obviously that comes with its works because that can very well lose you a game as much as win it. And then we've seen it at Bears that we had at like the wrong times.
Yeah. I didn't even change the damn it. I didn't even change the other thing at the bottom. All right, let's move on to the next game. Broncos beat the Chiefs 22-19. This one hurt me. I'm not gonna lie. This one hurt me a little bit. It was bad. It was bad. I'll just get into what I saw from this game. I think that both teams are really sloppy in terms of penalties. A lot of penalties in this game, but the Broncos defense just continues to be elite. I think early on in the game, the Chiefs and Mahomes had opportunities to make big plays. He missed literally 2 touchdowns on the first drive. His deep ball accuracy has continued to be bad over the last like 3 years or so, ever since they traded Tyreek Hill away. And then obviously the Broncos defense is going to get after you. If you're on 3rd down, it's very hard to convert. He did it a few times. I think they were 5 for 12 or something like that on 3rd down, somewhere close to that. But if you're on 3rd and long, it's really hard for this defense. It's really hard to convert on this defense. You're in 3rd and long. I didn't like some of the play calling. I think they should have leaned more into the running game. Kareem Hunt was having a lot of success in the running game. They should have leaned more into him. I think, especially on that last drive. The last drive, they just went like pass. I don't know why they did that. That really pissed me off. It really pissed me off. Like they should have leaned more into the running game more. Kareem Hunt was having a really good day for them, and they didn't lean more into it. And I know they're a what is it called? Like a pass to run offense, whatever it is. Like, but they should have leaned more into the running game. So I don't really appreciate that. But Mahomes with the interception, this team, after being the best high leverage team probably ever over the last 2 seasons, has regressed into maybe the worst high leverage team in the NFL. They've had so many opportunities, and they have 5 losses by 1 scores, and it's the execution at the end of the games have been awful. It's very, very uncharacteristic for the Chiefs that we've come to know over the last 7 years. And I really don't know how to explain why they've been so bad in high leverage situations, why they've been so bad in 1-score games. It's really appalling. I think, and it's they have this championship medal and they have this championship reputation that this type of things should not be happening whatsoever. And I think that part of it is on Mahomes, part of it is on the defense hasn't been able to make a clutch stop all year. Like you let them Bo Nix convert twice and on the last drive on 3rd down. It's embarrassing, bro. On 3rd and 14, let something go. You're not getting like Chris Jones. Can you have a signature moment, please, at any point in the season? Can you get to the quarterback?
No, I wouldn't. This game he did. This game Chris Jones and Travis Kelce showed up. Everybody else didn't. I wouldn't.
Where's he on that last drive? Is my question, bro.
I understand where you come from. I understand. Like this was not a good loss, and it just like it's one of those losses that like opens your eyes and makes you look back at the rest of the season and like see where things go wrong. This game just more about the defense in the last moments. They were able to win those close games basically all the last year because they didn't give up no 3rd and 10 in the fourth quarter all season last year. They were in close games. So they pretty much had that in lockstep. This year is just not the same. We letting up 3rd and 15 twice. The pass rush is not there, and the pass defense itself also is not good. When we like the run defense could be very good, it's because nobody cares to run on them. Like, and a lot of times people get up and they start running the ball, and the Chiefs may get a stop here or there, force them into 3rd and short situations. But people are passing on the Chiefs. Like, nobody's scared to pass the ball on the Chiefs, and that's just like not a recipe for success, especially when you don't get the pass rush and everything like that. Like, the defense, I think, is more worrisome than Mahomes in and of itself because he's still, regardless of what the record say, he's still having a great season. Obviously, there's little spots in here there that need to be worked on, like you said, the deep ball accuracy and the rapport with Worthy and things like that. But the defense just was costing the game. They could have won this game. He did have 2 chances in the fourth quarter, to put the game away, and then with the ball in the hands to get a field goal to win the game at the buzzer like the Broncos did to them, and they failed on both accounts.
I don't necessarily know if that last drive was on him though. I just didn't like the play calling, and then he in the last play he got under pressure.
When I say him, I just mean the offense in general. Like they had a chance, they had a chance to win the game 3 separate times in the last 5 minutes, and they failed on all accounts, collectively.
No, I agree. It's disgusting to watch. I'm trying to pull up these stats right here to figure out just how razor thin the margin of error for them being in terms of their losses. Let me get it right here. They lost 3 games by 3 points. It's bad. Let me see. So their 5 losses. The Chiefs right now, they've lost 5 games to teams with a combined record of 34-14, and their average margin of loss is 4.4 points. They're losing by less than a touchdown over their 5 losses. They have went from being the best team in 1-score situations maybe ever outside of probably the Patriots to being at the bottom of the league in terms of these 1-score situations. And now I think though they are probably the best 5-5 team ever. They're probably the best 5-5 team ever. I still believe they're a top 10 offense and defense in terms of EPA per play. They're a top 5 offense in terms of success rate. Their defense is not that high in terms of success rate, but this is probably the best 5-5 team we've seen in the NFL, and especially in recent years. I still think they're a really, really good team. I still think they can compete towards the end of this year and in the playoffs. They just have to revert back to the Chiefs teams we once know. Like I feel like, okay, so last 2 seasons they were one of the best teams at executing down the stretch of games in 1-score situations. Now it's just like we fail. What is it called? They regress to the mean, basically. I think a lot of winning 1-score games is luck. I don't care what nobody say. I think a lot of that is luck, and I think that they've been extremely unlucky this year. You had a play where fucking Trevor Lawrence falls down on the ground and it's not a sack. Like you have Travis Hunter make that insane catch, which probably should have been an interception in that Jaguars game. Like you have Travis Kelce dropping a pass into an interception against the Eagles. It's been a few moments this year where it's extremely unlucky, and it's led to losses this season. So we'll hop into this topic right now, right? I think this is, I don't know. The thing with the Chiefs is like we expect them to be there every single year, but they're gonna have a year where they're not there. They're gonna have a year where they don't win a Super Bowl. They're gonna have a year when they may miss the playoffs. They may do the thing. It's like We can't expect them to every single year be right there in the thick of it and be a Super Bowl contender. But this team, and we can get to it. You want to have me predict the schedule? This team is going 6-1 in the year. This team is going 6-1 in the year.
I don't. You're not gonna hear no disagreements from me. Everything you just said is all correct. Nobody ever questioned the Patriots. Like when they had the same amount of Super Bowls, 3 Super Bowls. Chiefs got 3 Super Bowls right now. They were a 10-year stretch where they did not win any Super Bowls. In 10 years, they made the Super Bowl twice. They only made the AFC Championship game 4 times. In those other 6 years, they were losing in the second round or in the first round, or they missed the playoffs. Like nobody questioned the Patriots though because of their pedigree after only winning 3 rings. It's not like they were like that same 7 championship team. Like they won 3 rings, and Tom Brady just became who he was, and nobody ever questioned him for those 10 years. So I don't think it's okay to do it with the Chiefs. This is just year 1 of them. Like after they went on a 2-peat, like we're still like there's still 9 more years for them to like still do something before things start to get really shaky. But if you want to run down the schedule, I don't think we need to. But if you want to run down the schedule, we can do that.
We can't. I think they're going. Like a lot of people think the Chiefs are going to miss the playoffs. They're going 6-1 in this year. I'm very confident. They're going 6-1 in this year. They're going to win 11 games. They're going to be 11-7. I think that.
Yeah.
Well, no, 11 that would be what 12-5. No, 12-6. No,
it'll be 11-6.
11-6. So they have 7 more games then, right?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah. Next Sunday, 1:00 game at home versus the Colts.
They're beating the Colts. They're beating the Colts. I think the run defense has been one of the best in the league this season. The pass defense in terms of EPA per play hasn't been that bad. The success rate is not good, but EPA per play, whatever metric you want to go to.
I remember I said that.
Huh?
I remember I said the defense was fool's gold. Nobody cared about when I said it, but okay.
I think they're going to beat the Colts, though. Yes.
Quick turnaround on Thanksgiving Thursday. Best game of should be the high watch, like super watch game. They're in Dallas. Yeah, Chiefs versus Cowboys in Dallas on Thursday. Quick turnaround.
They're beating Dallas.
Okay. Oh yeah, so they get a 10. They get a nice little mini bye after that because they don't play till 8:00. That the Sunday night game at home versus the Texans.
They're beating the Texans. Their offense, the Texans' offense is terrible. But I mean, hey, he's lost to the Broncos, who are kind of like a similar team. One team is 9-2, one team is not.
Next week after that, at home versus the Chargers.
They're beating the Chargers too.
On the road versus the Titans.
When?
At home on Christmas versus the Broncos.
They'll win this game. They're going to split with the Broncos.
And January 4th, last game of the season, at the Raiders.
Oh, win. They actually might win out. They actually might win out from here. I don't think that's crazy to say. I'm not gonna lie. The Colts are a really tough challenge. If they can, if they beat the Colts, I'm really all in on the Chiefs again. But I do think it's a realistic possibility that this team can win the next 6 games in a row, 7 games in a row. I really do think they can do that. The offense is, again, one of the best in the league. And our defense is opportunistic, in terms of creating turnovers and all that type of stuff. The passing defense isn't great, but the running defense is. And at some point, I think these one-score games are going to have to flip in their favor to end the year. And the Chiefs have historically played their best football as the season waned, as the season they haven't been. I don't think they've been 5-5, but they've been 3-4 at a certain point. They've been
5. They've been 3-4. They've been 5-4. They've never been 500 though.
Yep. They've been in a similar situation here a few years ago and turned it on when it needed to be turned on. And I think they still had it resolved. Travis Kelce's honestly having a great year, a bounce back year than what we had over the last 2 seasons. They need their pass rush to be better. They need the offensive line to be better. Too many penalties, undisciplined shit. Simmons was having a great game until he got a penalty. Having him back is really important. Juwan Taylor, I won't speak on him, but hey. Let's move on to the flip side of this. Had the Broncos prove they are a Super Bowl contender after their win against the Chiefs? Do we have to start showing the Broncos their respect after beating the Chiefs? Are they a Super Bowl contender?
I refuse to give them the respect. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna do it. I'm just not gonna do it because when come playoff time, when all the marbles on the table, the only being good in the fourth quarter is not gonna save you. And like the defense is still not like the Broncos haven't faced many great quarterbacks outside of Patrick Mahomes and Justin Herbert, and both those quarterbacks were able to move the ball on that great defense. Like so, once you get into the playoffs, 9 times out of 10, you're facing a great quarterback. Like they're gonna have a first round bye. There's a chance they have a first round bye. In that second round, they're gonna have to see Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, or Josh Allen. In the playoff settings, they're gonna do nasty things to that defense, regardless of what you think. Like regular season is cool, but the defense is probably like the second best defense in the league last year, just about with an average offense. Josh Allen went in the playoffs, destroyed them. The defense didn't get that much better than it was last year, and the offense is actually worse. So I think the Bills could do that same thing to them again. I think the Ravens, who destroyed them last year, could do it to them and do that same thing to them. And I think Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs can also beat them. So I'm not trusting them because they have a great record in the regular season. Like you have to show me. Like with this team, with this order, with this offense, with this quarterback, you have to show me. And until you show me, I'm not going to believe in
it. Bro, I want to call this the worst 9-2 team I've ever seen, but it's just like, bro, like at some point I gotta give them their respect. I mean, beating the Chiefs is a thing that moves me personally. Like you beat the Chiefs, I gotta start to give you a little bit of respect. I think their defense is amazing. It's borderline on like an all-time defense, honestly. Maybe that'd be too crazy. I don't know.
They're gonna set the all-time
sack record.
Well, yeah, you're not far off. Like they're a legitimately great defense. That's part of what makes them a great team. That's doing a bunch of the heavy lifting.
No, for
I'm
sure.
not going to deny that they're a great team.
They have an all-time great defense. They have a great head coach who is probably an all-time coach as well. Like Sean Payton is a historically really good coach. They have a really good offensive line. Their running game was really good before J.K. Dobbins went down. I don't know how it's going to look now with R.J. Harvey, but hey, they have a really good offensive line. And then Bo Nix isn't the worst quarterback in the world. He's not good for sure. He's not good, but against the Chiefs, he made timely big throws. I would say he outplayed Patrick Mahomes. And so I have to give him his credit for that performance. Do I think they're going to be contending for a Super Bowl? No. But their defense can have them in every single game going forward, even in the playoffs, I think. When it comes down to it, though, I think that their offense is not going to be good enough. I don't think Bo Nix is going to be good enough to have them competing for a Super Bowl. But if they had any other quarterbacks, if they had an actual good quarterback, actual top flight quarterback, this team would be a Super Bowl favorite. But because they don't, I'm gonna say the Broncos are a dark horse contender. Like they definitely have a chance of making it to Super Bowl just because their defense is that great. And if Bo Nix if he is not losing them a game, they're gonna be in the game. So yeah, that's pretty much how I feel about the Broncos. Bo Nix, I don't think he's good, but he definitely shut up a lot of people with that last drive, made some big throws on third down. So I got to give him his credit for that, but it's tough. It's tough. I don't think the Broncos are going to win a Super Bowl. I don't think they're going to make a Super Bowl. But against a team like the Ravens, no, I'm definitely going to pick them to lose. But like they had a defense to maybe slow down the Ravens. I think the one weak spot of defense is
ask yourself how many teams that you would take the Broncos over without thinking about
it.
In the playoff settings, the Chiefs, Ravens, and Bills.
Are you going to for sure take them over the Colts? And is that based on Daniel Jones?
They're in the same tier. Let me see where the Broncos run defense ranks. Damn, what the hell?
Because I think that if you're not going to definitively take over a team, then it's tough to believe in them. And then no matter what nobody want to say, when it comes down to pick the teams, and if they're going into the playoffs, no matter if they're at home, if they're looking across at Patrick Mahomes, you're going to take Patrick Mahomes. If you're looking at Lamar Jackson, you're going to take Lamar Jackson. If you're looking at Josh Allen, you're going to take Josh Allen, who has proof of concept of actually doing that to you before. And if they lose, if the Broncos win, it's like, okay, but you rather do that than be on the wrong side of history of picking against one of those all-time quarterbacks. And I think you got to do it for me before I actually believe that you could start doing some things. Because not anybody, but a lot of teams go 14-3 in the regular season, whatever the case may be, and don't do anything in the playoffs. Like we've seen it many times before.
Yep. Let's move on to the next game. The Bears, they came back to beat the Vikings. They've been, on the flip side, the Chiefs been one of the best teams at high leverage situations, coming back from and winning one-score games. They beat the Vikings with 9, and now they lead the NFC North after 11 weeks of the season. They're ahead of the Lions. They're ahead of the Packers. It's something that definitely is a surprise. They haven't had the hardest schedule, but they've got it done, and they won games. So let's talk about this game. How did they get it done? How did they get towards the number one team in the NFC North?
They and I don't want to take this credit away from the Bears defense, but JJ McCarthy literally handed them the game multiple times, like without being able to actually complete a pass, turnovers, not clicking with the offense. It was just so easy for the Bears to capitalize. And Caleb in the offense didn't have a great day because it's still Brian Flores in that defense. Like Caleb wasn't bad or he wasn't great. Swift is okay on the ground. Like I said, it was a defensive battle between a bad quarterback and a good quarterback going against a great defense. Like it came down close, and what the Bears have been able to do this year, what Caleb has been able to do this year, is in a high leverage moments move the ball and either get the score or get them into field goal range, and that's what they did Sunday, and it worked. And now they're first in the division, and they have a clear path to making the playoffs in Ben Johnson's first year.
I think that the offense it continues to struggle a little bit with Caleb Williams at the helm. I don't think he's been great this year. I don't think he was great in this game. I do think DJ Moore is not doing him any favors. We can talk about that because I think they're ready to move off of him. I tweeted that they should move off of DJ Moore. They have the talent with Roma doing. They lose the burden. Colson Loveland has looked really great since he came back from injury. The offense, the rushing game is, I honestly think the rushing game could be a lot better just because of the schemes that Ben Johnson is obviously is called. He's a great run schemer, but they have DeAndre Swift, so he's not a great running back. He's had a good year, I would say, overall, but I do think DeAndre Swift consistently leaves meat on the bones in terms of rushes. The defense is obviously banged up and not great either, but they were going against a very, very bad quarterback in JJ McCarthy. On the flip side, for the Vikings, I think that it's been hard. It's been tough for JJ McCarthy to hook up with Justin Jefferson, which is saying something. The best receiver in the league, we think, and he struggles to do that. But when this came down to the wire, the Bears' offense has made the plays to win games, despite the opponents. You had that last punt return where Zacharias, I don't know, I'll probably just mess his name up, makes the play to get them field goal range. And Caleb Williams has actually been a really good clutch quarterback with delivering passes under pressure, escaping. His sack evasion has been great this year, for sure. So they just made timely plays. I think they have a good chance of making the playoffs. The road from here is very tough. So that's what we're going to talk about first. We're going to predict the Bears' schedule to end the season. Q, I did the Chiefs. So I'm gonna have you do the Bears. Let me see. Let me put it up real quick. I need some water, bro. All right. Q, the Bears are 7-3 in control of the NFC North for the first time since 2018. Let's predict their schedule to end the year to see if they will make the playoffs. Next week they have the Steelers at home.
Steelers at home. Give me the Bears.
Okay, that puts them at 8-3. Then they have the Eagles on the road.
Loss. But
They
I
have
think
the
it's gonna be interesting.
No, it's not gonna be. I think the Eagles are gonna blow them out. But then the week after that, they have the Packers on the road.
Loss.
The week at okay, so December 14th, they're back at home against the Browns.
It's a dub.
Then on December 20th, they are at home against the Packers.
It's a W.
Next week after that, they are on the road versus the 49ers.
I think this could go either way. On the road, I'm gonna say a loss.
And then the last week of the season, they are at home versus the Lions.
Win.
So that will put them at
11-6.
11-6. What that you had them beating the Steelers,
Browns, Packers, Lions.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I think they lose to the Lions. I think they lose to the Lions.
I think they win 10 games. If they beat the Niners, I don't think they care, but I don't think they win the Lions game. I don't think they care that much.
Yeah, I think they lose to the 49ers. I think they lose to the Lions. I think they lose to the Eagles. Then they beat the Steelers. They beat
Browns, Packers,
and they beat the Browns. So I think they go 3-3 to end of the year, and it'll be cool.
That still punches them right in the playoffs.
Yep, because they've given themselves a good margin of error right now at this point in the season. All right, let's talk about JJ McCarthy's struggles and how long of a leash does JJ McCarthy have in Minnesota. I know you had a tick like this last week, so I'll let you reiterate that and get into that with more evidence now against the Bears, who don't have a good defense, and he still struggled with the cast of weapons he has around him.
JJ McCarthy just not that good. I just give him the rest of the year. I understand Justin Jefferson is upset. At this point, they realize the year is lost. That hurts when you're paying a lot of money to players. They're getting older, so they want to start to win games. They just won a lot of games last year, so it's tough to win 14 games to turn around, and next year you only win like 7. Having that kind of inconsistency in up and down type season could really wear in the locker room. But it's clear, give them the rest of the year, maybe things turn around, but it's just not the answer. And I don't think the concept it's not going to get better for me. So I think they just got to wash their hands. Don't double down on a mistake. Either draft the quarterback, swing for the fences, try to see if you get a real veteran, top 15 quarterback to play for you. Whether that be a Dak, maybe try to see if you could pry Justin Herbert or something like that. See what you have to give for a Trevor Lawrence, something like that. At least a better quarterback to throw into this mix with Kevin O'Connell. That always gives you a boost. Or you trade for Mac Jones and draft the quarterback, have him sit, whatever the case may be. But they have to do something serious. They have to prove to the locker room that they're trying to win games, and they can't just go into another year with quarterback questions after this.
I think this team doesn't have that much time to wait for JJ McCarthy to develop. They have a roster ready to compete right now. They have one of the best receivers in the NFL, one of the best receiver duos in the NFL. They have a defense that's very well coached by Brian Flores. They have the outlines and the makings of a team that can compete for a Super Bowl if they had a competent quarterback at the helm, and they do not. And I don't think JJ McCarthy is going to be good. I didn't like JJ McCarthy coming out of the draft. I think he didn't have a lot of reps at Minnesota. He wasn't asked to do a lot. I don't even know why they drafted a quarterback that had so few reps. Didn't have to throw the ball a lot. He relied on the running game at Michigan. And he needs reps in the NFL, and they don't really have the time to afford them those reps. I think JJ McCarthy is years away from being a good NFL quarterback. It's very early in his career, but I'm very low on his possibility of becoming a quarterback that can lead a team to the Super Bowl. I think that he does nothing he does really stands out to me. I don't think he has a great arm. I don't think he has great athleticism and escapability. He's got injured twice already to start his career as well. There was nothing on tape at Michigan. There was nothing I saw at Michigan that said he should have been a top 10 quarterback, or he should have been a top 10, top 12 pick in the NFL draft. There was nothing that I saw, and there's nothing that I've seen since that justifies the decision. And on top of that, to be frank, that 9 alter ego stuff is just weird. I don't even know why he said that. That was just weird. That's corny. It's but
he had the best game of his career. It came in a win. He felt good.
That's super weird. That alter ego stuff is just weird, especially if you're not you're not even good enough to even be doing stuff like that.
It's too early. You'll get looks in the locker room for that. I will say though, him being as bad as he is, along with like Roman Wilson, Blake Corum, I think that's just like another feather in the cap for Jim Harbaugh being a great coach, because him winning with those players that can't really even see aren't good or can't really see the field is just like a testament to him and what he did. Like, what's he able to do as a coach with like lesser talent?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think they should try to make a move for a quarterback that is established. I really don't think this JJ McCarthy experiment is going to work. They had Sam Darnold, who had a career year in the locker room, and then let him go. Daniel Jones. I mean, you can't predict that, but damn, I mean, the last two quarterbacks are having great years elsewhere, and now you got JJ McCarthy, who doesn't look like he's going to be turning around. And these Warriors can come back to bite us, but I don't think they will. I'm not gonna lie, I don't think they will. I never thought JJ McCarthy was good. I thought Bo Nix, Penix, and JJ McCarthy were overdrafted because teams needed quarterbacks, and they bit. And we should. I mean, it's so much to talk about every week. We're not even going to be talking about the Michael Penix situation and the Falcons situation, where Michael Penix is out for the year.
We kind of did last week.
Yeah, we did. I mean, the Falcons have a great roster. Not great roster. They have a really good roster, I think, especially on the offensive side of the ball, and they don't have the quarterback to push them forward. And now you drafted a 40-year-old quarterback who had an injury history, and he gets injured and he's out for a season, and that's the most predictable thing ever, because
it's a top 10 pick to the Los Angeles Rams, who are not your biggest rivals, but they're still a conference rival in terms of they can very well be blocking your path to making playoffs and winning Super Bowls as well. You just gave them possibly a quarterback for their future.
Yeah, so it's dumb from them, but hey, the Packers scraped by against the Giants. They've continued this trend of barely beating teams, not looking like a contender. So the main question with this game: are you out on the Packers as Super Bowl contenders? And we kind of talked last week too.
Yeah. Like I said last week, I was like, I gave it to the hype, and like it was tough for me because I was never a Jordan Love guy. I was always very skeptical of Jordan Love as like the quarterback for my team, and Micah Parsons, I just think he's just that great of a talent. He's been excellent this year, so it's like not really on him. The defense has been as advertised, but they're too up and down for me, and I should have seen this coming because that's just how they've been since Aaron Rodgers left the building. Even while they were just an average team, 9-8, 10-17 type team, and that's pretty much where they're going to be this year. They've always been that. There's stories around that Matt LaFleur's on a hot seat because he's had one great playoff win since, in the past 5 years. It was the Cowboys, but other than that, they haven't really been good in the playoffs. They've been wild card teams, just scraping barely in 7th seed, losing the first one. Like they just haven't been as great as a team as like people would want to make it seem. Jordan Love hasn't been as great of a quarterback like consistently. So it's like this team is just not like there yet for me. Tucker Kraft going down obviously doesn't make it better. Josh Jacobs not being an efficient runner doesn't make it better. But they're a good team. They're not a great team. I don't think this year they can't compete.
I agree. I'm out on the Packers as Super Bowl contenders. I've been out on them for a while. I think Josh Jacobs has dealt with injuries and just regressed as a runner. They don't have the firepower on the outside. The receivers are just not good, and they're super young still. The defense, I think, is really good with Micah Parsons, but Jordan Love has been inconsistent. His decision making, his accuracy has been inconsistent. The play calling has been not great. Is either they just don't have enough. They don't have enough. They don't have enough. They don't have enough to compete in the NFC. They need another receiver. They probably need to reload at running back. I think they can get another corner on defense. They just have a few pieces. They need to get better, and a few spots they need to get better. Jordan Love needs to improve, honestly, with his decision making, his accuracy. And they have really disappointed since the first 2 weeks of the season, where they smacked the Lions and they smacked the Commanders, and we all thought, oh, this team's going to be a contender for a Super Bowl. And since then, they've let us down week in, week out. They're not a contender. That's pretty much all I got to say about that. The simplified version of it, to be honest. Let's move on. The Ravens escaped against the Browns. Not a great showing, but they won, 4 straight games now? 4 straight games. They're back to 500, 1 game back of the Steelers in the AFC North. How do you feel about this performance? The offense struggled again. Lamar Jackson threw 2 interceptions. I know he historically struggles against the Browns, and I get it. And the AFC North is still a tough division in terms of the defenses in the division. Well, no, that's not true, because the Bengals are not good and the Steelers are not good. But they you know what I mean in terms of division games. Are still division games, especially in the AFC North. What did you think of this performance from the Ravens barely beating the Browns, who have an incompetent offense, and then had Shedeur Sanders in there as well, which we'll talk about next?
Yeah, this is how this team has looked literally the past 4 weeks. Like it's looking actually like this. Like Dolphins game notwithstanding, the offense has not really clicked, and the defense itself, they've gotten turnovers, timely turnovers, been good in key spots, but overall they've been, people have been able to move the ball on them. That's been happening. That game Sunday wasn't a great game for Lamar Jackson. He did have 2 interceptions, one was a pick 6, but those both are not we can't we're gonna keep saying it, but they're bouncing off receivers' hands and turning into interceptions. So can't really blame Lamar. But even without those 2 interceptions, it still wasn't a great game. The defense just happened to be able to take advantage of the Browns' incompetent, offense as a whole, between Dillon Gabriel, that offensive line, Shedeur, who I know we probably are going to talk about, didn't have a bad game. I mean, didn't have a good game at all. It was actually horrible. And, people want to blame it on him not getting first-team reps, but that's just not how it, nobody, backups don't take first-team reps. He just got thrown into the fire. And I understand, he looked bad. That's what you expected. It's tale of two, 2 sides of the coin. If he played well, nobody would have said anything about him not having first-team reps. He didn't play well. They talk about him not having first-team reps, but nobody ever does that. That doesn't happen during practice, and everybody knows that. Even smart people that were arguing about it or, backing that claim, they know that nobody gets backups don't get first-team reps. Yeah, it's a division game. I don't really think the Ravens need to care about how it looks. I just think they need to get the W's and then get into the tournament and figure out from there. But as of right now, I'm just happy for the win. I still believe that we're going to win a division. We're going to lap the Steelers and make the playoffs. But I just think we got to get there first before we start worrying about how it looks.
Yeah. The defense, though, is improved over. That's a really big key. I mean, the Browns' offense is awful, but the defense looks like they've improved since there are a lot of those warts in the beginning of the year. I do think they're going to win the division and make the playoffs, obviously, and then you give yourself a chance. For me, I don't think the Ravens are contenders, though. I don't. Just don't think their defense is good enough this year. I think this is a year it's going to be very disappointing, and I think people might get fired, honestly. But with the injury to Lamar, with how the defense looked at the beginning of the year, you're starting the year off 1-5. It's going to be a very disappointing end to the season. But I do think they're going to win the division. They're going to make the playoffs. 2, I think, uncharacteristic ass interceptions from Lamar Jackson. Those are not mistakes he really makes in game. So those uncharacteristic. He looked good against the Dolphins, but then after that hasn't looked the same since returning from injury. And I think the Browns are a really good defense, so I expect them to for him not to look like MVP Lamar necessarily against them. But yeah, I don't think they're contenders, and I think that this season it's gonna be some very hard questions to answer after this year, because I think they've kind of stagnated at this point. they've been in the mix every single year, but just haven't been able to get it done. And this year is another year of that where they're in the mix. They're a contender. They're in the AFC Championship game or the division round, and they just haven't been able to get it done. It's like you gotta at some point be like, we gotta make changes at the top. And the great head coach, I think, walked out the door to Seattle a few years ago, and with Mike McDaniel, he's proven to be really good for the Seahawks, and it's turned them around. Well, not turned them around, but increased their ceiling, I think. So yeah, that's that. I want to talk about the Shedeur Sanders thing because, I was pretty vocal about him when he didn't get drafted. I think that he was better than Dillon Gabriel. I thought he was better than Jackson Dart too. Hasn't really proved to be correct at this point in the season. But I think, again, I've heard this take, but I do think that Shedeur Sanders pretty much performed how you think a backup will perform after just getting thrown out there in the middle of a game and not having any reps with the ones, not preparing at all for this game whatsoever against the Ravens, against a divisional opponent. It was a high pressure situation. I think he played bad, but it's what you expect. What backups really just come in the game out of nowhere and perform well with no prep at all? What backups really do that? The only backups that really do that are experienced veterans. This is a rookie with no NFL snaps in the regular season. He performed how he was supposed to perform. Now, going into next week, in these next 3 weeks of the season, he should perform better. There's no more excuses for Shedeur, though. Let's see. Let me look at the opponents they have again. Browns schedule.
Raiders, okay, Niners.
So the Browns have the Raiders, Niners, Titans, and Bears as their next 4 games. If Shedeur Sanders is going to prove himself to be anything in the NFL, to be anything, he needs to perform well in these next 4 games. He will have the first team reps. He will have a game plan from the head coach, Kevin Stefanski. If he is going to be anything in the NFL, even a backup, he has to play well in these next 4 games. He does. There's no more excuses. You can't say the Browns are sabotaging him. They're not prioritizing his development, all that type of stuff. He has an opportunity right now, and that's all you can ask for, an opportunity against 3 teams that are not the best defenses, not the strongest opponents whatsoever. The 49ers are a good team, but he needs to play well. That's the bottom line. That's the bottom line. That's pretty much it. For starters, he needs to dominate against the Raiders. He needs to dominate against the Raiders so he can keep the job until Dillon Gabriel. Like if Dillon Gabriel misses 1 week, he has to play really well against the Raiders to even keep the job when he comes back. So that's step one. You got to go week by week, but there's no more excuses for Shedeur. He has an opportunity right now. Let's see what he does with it, because obviously the fans want to see him in the field. As Dillon Gabriel, I'm like, damn, y'all here for the dude after I got injured. That's crazy. But yeah, man, it's a shit show on the Browns. I think Kevin Stefanski needs to be fired, but either way, I think this is going to go bad for Steph. Either way, Shedeur Sanders' performance is going to go bad for Kevin Stefanski, because either he balls out and you didn't play him this whole whole year, or he's terrible and then you just get fired regardless. Either way, he's going to get fired. Like if Shedeur Sanders plays well to end the year and you bench him this whole time because you clearly just don't like the person. I just don't think he likes Shedeur. Or he plays terrible and Dillon Gabriel plays terrible, and then you just get fired at the end of the year. So it's a lose-lose situation for Shedeur Sanders, honestly. I mean, for Kevin Stefanski, honestly.
And this is exactly what I was saying in the beginning. The same reason why it's always going to be a win-win for Shedeur Sanders is the reason why it's going to be a lose-lose for everybody else in the organization and anybody else that had to take that was not like centered around Shedeur being a starting quarterback. The first thing, Shedeur looked bad. The first thing a lot of people came on the internet to do was say, "But he didn't have first team reps with the starters, yada yada yada," because that doesn't happen. So that was just automatically in defense of Shedeur Sanders, whether it was right or wrong. We expected him to be bad because he doesn't get the first team reps, and he's a rookie backup quarterback. Like that was supposed to happen. There's no real like conspiracy behind that. He just was the backup. Like he was gonna look bad. That's what's gonna happen regardless. With Stefanski, we could say he doesn't like him, whatever the case may be. We knew that the moment they decided to go with Dillon Gabriel in the third round over Shedeur Sanders. Just didn't want him.
Yeah.
He says, is his attitude supposed to change because now he's in the building and now he's suddenly supposed to want somebody he didn't want? No. He had their choice. They had their starters. That's how they went. That's what it was, and that led to subsequent activities with Shedeur Sanders. Again, it's always going to be painted in the light that he's either did his job, was supposed to do his job, whatever the case may be. He deserved this, blah blah blah. You did see he's able to hit the middle of the field. There's some things that he just clearly does better than Dillon Gabriel, like especially like post snap, like in terms of moving around and be able to hit certain areas of the field that Dillon Gabriel can't hit. We know that he was just pretty much a better college quarterback. It just the situation he wasn't in wasn't perfect. Like it's the NFL, it's just not going to be. But we can't just like keep excusing it and then putting it on everybody else. So at some point, it's going to be on Shedeur, and I'm glad it happened early because now we get to see him. And he probably is going to have the job for the rest of the year. And we can really get our ducks in a row because he will be playing with the starters, all the first teamers. And then you could judge him then. If it goes badly, do I predict that somebody's going to say he's calling the wrong plays? Stefanski's calling the wrong plays, or they're not sending much to see the offense is clunky. I know somebody's going to blame the play calling if it doesn't look good, but if it looks great, they have a chance to have a starting quarterback and have 2 first-round picks going into the next draft without having to possibly need a quarterback. So, like, I just think people just need to ride the wave and not, like, worry too much about the newspaper clippings and just worry about what's going on with the actual team.
Yeah, and that's going to do it for our Week 11 NFL recap. We'll be back with NBA talk either today or tomorrow. And then college basketball we got to get into as well. So we're going to be back with some more content. But thank you guys for whoever made it this far and, tuning in. Love y'all, and we are